Like, seriously, who do you hang out with?
The radical left, the Marxists, the anarchists, the agitators, the looters, and people who, in many instances, have absolutely no clue what they are doing.
Hello, my friend. Long time no see.
I did miss you.
Yeah, me too, actually. So, why it took us so long to do another episode?
That's a valid question, but I think it's a lot of people told us that we're very angry. I mean, I think it's more related to me than to you.
We're a couple of angry people, but because the situation in the world is difficult,
Didn't feel like talking about literature and books.
that's true. But when we met, and part of the basis of this friendship, it's actually our love for literature and books and art, and I think we just wanted to bring that back now.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you do feel a little bit guilty that like it's not appropriate. Maybe while people are dying and why genocides is upfolding, to talk about maybe frivolous things. But if you think about it, actually, literature and art in general is resistance and is what to be done when we are facing problems. And I think it's, we're trying to get back to it. Less talking about news in the world, but more talking about books and things that move us and things that I don't know. How do I position it? It's difficult because I mean I want to look at him, but or should I put the mic here?
You can slide the chair a bit.
Slide the chair a bit like this.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, now I see.
But I mean, you see?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you went on your own little adventure as well, right?
That's true. I was on a quest in Spain and in Mexico. I took some time to finish the book I was writing, and I was able to publish.
We have a published author with us, people.
Do you have it there?
Yes,
you have it there.
I have a beautiful copy.
Mentes Geniales.
Yes.
I'm super happy about that, but that's a thing of the past. Now it's time to do some new projects, and
you're a hyper-productive person.
Of course, like productivity.
Never enough. Huh?
It's never enough. Like I have to produce more for other people.
Yeah, but I think today, like we are going back to this format with a different approach to the episodes. Like we decided that we're going to plan sort of themes.
I think the political stuff are fun, geopolitical is fun, history is fun, but we want to go through an adventure of literary regions. So that's why we decided for the next episodes to talk about a book from a different geographical region. We will start with Latin America, Roberto Bolaño, The Savage Detectives, the book that probably brought us together, started everything, and we hope that if this goes well, we can talk about other authors from other latitudes.
Yeah, and also authors that we like, and that like we think that it would be an endeavor to go through and to discover. And the book that we're gonna discuss today is The Savage Detectives, Roberto Bolaño, the mythical.
The Bible, guys, the fucking Bible.
But tell me, what does this book represent to you, or why do you like it so much?
Well, I mean, do you want to give us first a summary about the book, and then maybe people will understand why we chose this book?
Yeah. So, The Savage Detectives is a massive book. it's a pretty big book, but it's in some sense three different.
They don't do books this size anymore. Like contemporary literature is like this. So yeah, it's always good to go back to one of these bricks, no?
True. Although it was written not that time ago. But yeah, it's 3 books and encompassed all together. So there is 3 parts, let's say. First part, it's a sort of an internal diary of this young poet. So the whole book, it talks about poets in Mexico in the 70s up to the 90s. And the first book is an internal diary of this young poet, Juan Garcia Madero, 17 years old. He's young, he's juvenile in some sense. He has that hope for literature, and he joins this underground, let's say, poetry group or collective called the Visceral Realists, hoping to be part of the horde of Mexican poets in the 70s. And it's a youthful voice in a sort of a linear timeline, full of juvenile energy, contradiction, sex, and like nihilistic rebellion, one can say. And the first part basically puts the quest. So the quest of this book is to find Cesara Tinayero, the godmother of the Visceral Realists.
Yeah, or like the godmother of modern poetry in Mexico. No, like this poet that disappeared. Nobody knows when exactly. There's no books about her, nothing published about her, but she's supposed to be like one of the first contemporary writers. And these 2 young people, Ulises Lima and Arturo Belano, they decide that they are going to travel to the north of Mexico and find her and bring back this great Mexican author that disappeared.
Yeah. And the first part is in the voice of this young poet, as we said, and he is talking about these 2 mythical characters, Ulises Lima and Arturo Belano, and it ends with them basically leaving Mexico City, and that's when the first part ends. The second part is, for me, and I think for you as well, a pretty impressive part, because it's very different from what you are used to. It's a sort of a cacophony of hundreds of voices
and characters, and stories crossing between them,
and in a form of interview. So you have these like hundreds of different people.
Yeah, and it's people that in the first part they got mentioned as secondary characters, and then they are giving their opinion of what they remember about the movement from the 70s, and their opinion goes from the 80s until the late 90s. And you can see through, well, first of all, they contradict themselves, like each other. They relativize, like they have like several ideas of that movement. Some of them remember this movement as this great endeavor, other think of the movement as just like a failure, something that was completely fraudulent. And it's really interesting to see how Mexico changes. The panorama of literature also changes until we get to the 90s, no?
Yeah, and I mean, you said that they like most of them are not even all poets. Like you have poets, you have lovers, you have even roommates, you end up even having some fishermen and bodybuilders that are telling that all of them are in some way interconnected with with Arturo Belano and Ulises Lima, and they are telling their own their own perception, their own opinion about these mythical characters. And as you said, they contradict each other, and it is tedious sometimes. It is a bit difficult to follow because there's so many names, so many places, so many people.
And it's experimental. It's really experimental.
Yeah,
it's
so
really
fragmented.
It's fragmented.
Anti-structure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fully. And so after this abrupt pause of
400 pages,
like majority of the book, you basically go back to the quest of you literally go back to the moment where we left Arturo Belano and Ulises Lima. I'm always saying Roberto because
we will say why.
You go back to where they stopped, and you carry on with them, leaving Mexico City and going on to this quest of finding the one that started it all, Cesar Etienne.
In the deserts of Sonora, like
Exactly.
this Rambo style, like getting lost because of literature. And yeah, at the end, it's like an open ending. We won't spoil or try not to spoil. But I mean, it's not about the story, no? It's not even about the story. It's about like this passion and everything that happens. And yeah, you were mentioning Roberto instead of Arturo a lot because it's kind of, well, it's an exercise of autofiction, obviously. Arturo Bolaño is like the heteronym or pseudonym for Roberto Bolaño, the Chilean author. And he's talking about his own life when he moved from Chile to Mexico when he was like 70 years old. And he tried to revolutionize literature and to create a movement that was against like the big names like Octavio Paz. And he's like just shitting on all these, how do you say, Nobel Prize winners that were the hegemonic power of Mexican culture. And it's interesting because in the real life, the movement was a failure. Like it disappeared. Like it didn't even last like 2 or 3 years and was completely forgotten from history of literature.
Before this book, no one knew about infrarealism. Like it was not even a thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like Infrarealism is the name of the actual movement.
The real movement.
And until he published like this book, then it became famous, and then people start going back and try to search for these poets, for these publications. And now if you Google Infrarealism, then you will have like a lot of pages about like this literary movement, blah, blah. But like at the end, it can be considered like a failed movement that many years later, 30 years later, 40 years later, got revived, no, because of the magic of fiction and literature.
Yeah. Of making creating things making things real.
Making, yeah, and that's part of it, no, and that's the idea with Bolaño in all of his literature. It's a person that can't separate literature from life.
And that's literally what you see in the book, that he lived a poetic life. His life is literature. It's poetry.
Yeah, actually, I want to go to a quote from him that I was going to leave for the ending. But he says, actually, my literary proposal is directly related with my life. My literary proposal is my life. The literary proposal, the poem of the poet, is the poet himself. Always, like it's not about what you write, because in the book
most of them don't write.
They call themselves like poets, so they don't fucking write.
Most of them are like drug dealers, criminals.
Yeah, absolutely. What you will call like vago, we say, like in Mexico, like vagabonds, like flaneurs,
Yeah.
But for Bolaño, the poetry was in the way of approaching life.
But why is this book so? If you wanna tell us what this book, when did you read this book? What does it like constitute?
I always say, and I'm not exaggerating as Bolaño would like, but maybe I am. This book changed my life, but it actually did change my life. I read this book in a really dark moment in my life. I was like in my early 20s, 20, 21. I was studying medicine. I wasn't sure if that was the endeavor I wanted. A part of me wanted to be like this poet that lived like this bohemian life, and then I get to this book that it's about people that left everything just on the sake of art and creation and passion. And I think at that time I related a lot with Garcia Madero, like in the 4th page. He says, like he writes in his diary, today I did not go to the university. I stayed home all day writing poems. And I swear that day I didn't go to the university. Like I swear that
so cringe, man.
I stayed home writing poems. And this book, I didn't leave university, and I did study medicine and fulfill the life.
You did exactly the opposite
Exactly
of what
the opposite,
Visceral are
exactly.
supposed to do.
Yeah. I was also a failure in that sense. I tricked myself out of that.
Sure.
But at the end, like when Hussein told me, like, well, then we met, and you want to talk about your
I mean,
personal. Yeah.
in opposition to Mario, I read his fellow countrymen or fellow continent men, if that exists, because I mean there are more English translations than Arabic and African translations from books. But I mean, when I met you, we discussed about what were the books that influenced you, and you told me about it, and I read it, and I think it did break something in me, in my perception at least of what a story should look like, what
a novel, you know.
What a novel, what a novel should again to be. Oh, sorry.
No.
I thought you.
She's saying
so
hi.
what a novel should entails.
Aspire.
Yeah, and you know me, I am a believer of big narratives, you know, of epics. Yeah, and that's obviously because I maybe belong to a culture that didn't thrive when the novel format came into reality. So I read more short stories than novels. I mean, it's not true now. But even the novels that I liked, I was always looking into those big events and big moments of climax and the intricate construction of how to glass the faber. What is the term? How to shock, you know, the reader. And that was something that I did believe in a lot until I read Bolaño. Now I read other books that maybe. But I think Bolaño was a precursor of that.
Yeah, I mean, he published this book in 1998, let's say.
Yeah.
So for many people say, like, if it had been like in the 21st century, it would be one of the best books of the 21st century, because it doesn't feel like a book of the 20, like it postmodern. No, it's not even postmodern. No, it's like, I don't know. It's also really progressive for its time.
Yeah.
And when you read this book, it's not a book of the 20th century. It feels that it's a book that it's opening like the new ways of writing literature in this century.
Yeah, actually, I wrote these words. Maybe it resumes basically what I think of the book. I say the Savage of Texas is Tale of No Tales. It's a book with 1,000 voices conjured into one Bolaño's literary existence, and his homage to his generation of poets and brothers in arms. It's a book where the story isn't important or isn't key to understand the poetic life of that Bolaño was preaching. A poet is one all the time, or none of it, like you said, exactly. Like a poet. Like when you read the book, the details, the verisimilitude of how he shows a life of a poet that is not a mystical life, that is not a great life, that is sometimes
it's not in this golden house, you know, like.
And it's not when like you're sitting and then
inspiration
comes into it. It's not like that at all. It's a life of actually physically living and fighting and stealing and
stealing books and people on the cafes writing in any piece of paper, like their poetry,
and at the end failing, and that quest of failing, but failing gracefully, it's something that kind of took off weight on my shoulder, and it made me look at writing in a different framework.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that in the whole work of Bolaño, there's this idea that failure is way more interesting than success, because for failing you, especially in literature, no, when he talks in literature, he talks in terms of like an impossible endeavor, you know, like of something. He says, like, when you choose to be a writer, you choose the defeat. You know it's no place you can win, especially because he also never believed in posterity and of being or surviving after. Like for him it's like a sickness almost. Like why do we write? Yeah.
And when you know Bolaño's love for Pessoa, but also for Borges himself, who didn't believe in the ownership of the words themselves. You
and on reality itself, like for him, life, it's not how you live it, but how you told you live it, and it's also kind of the argument in this book, which I found like fascinating. And going back to the structure and why I think it's so good. When you told me let's reread it, because we read it 7 years ago when we met, almost 8 probably, and I was kind of afraid of rereading the book and being a juvenile book, like, okay, this was the book of my 20s, Camus or something that you recommended, and then people are like, yeah, maybe it's not that good. It's like, shit, maybe it's just like on my mind. And something interesting happened. I mean, the book didn't lose anything, like the opposite. It gained a lot, but I realized the things that attracted me more than 10 years ago, like the story of Garcia Madero, this passion for life, I still like it, but it's different as the person that I am right now. But the second part that I used to find like really tedious and many voices, and they go to a story and then to a story and confusing. When I was young, I was like, okay, this is a tedious part, I have to go through it. And now reading is like, this is a genius part, this is the literature part, like this is where the value of writing comes from.
And I think just to jump on this point, because I think also that second part is the genius part. And for me, what is impressive about this part, outside of the fact that that you're breaking from a tradition, or from you're going through this
pictures.
Maybe you're getting it was a gamble for him to do that part, because you could easily lose the readers. I think what is more impressive is for me is his ability to juggle with all those voices and make those voices actually real and feels to you real, because people maybe that don't exercise writing don't understand that nuance of being able to write a kid that is 17 years old, a woman that is 30, a woman that is 60, an old person, a famous person, and a person from different countries, different dialects, different languages, Europeans, Africans, although I found it a bit, but whatever.
We're older.
Yeah, we'll get there. But like all those different realms that he tried to convey in very short in very condensed form. So like most of the voices have, I mean, some of the voices have maybe 7-10 pages, but most of them have like 2-3 pages and so on, and again and he continues like that for almost 400 pages.
400 pages.
It's majestic.
And I think like when you start writing in any workshop, the first thing they tell you is like, you have to find your voice, you have to find your voice, you have to find your voice. Actually, no, but you know what I was thinking now that you're mentioning it? The interesting thing is that he can be all these different people, but at the same time, it's Bolaño.
Yeah.
That's the genius. That's the genius.
I would even go further and say you see Bolaño in every character.
In every character, this is written by Roberto Bolaño, but every character is so different. Like, it's 17 years old, it's a woman that is in her 60s, different social classes, but in the nucleus, like, it's still Bolaño, like it's insane.
It absolutely is Bolaño, and it's not also pretentious. It is very pretentious, and and like intentionally pretentious in the sense that you have
Intentionally,
like intention in the sense that you find pages, like full pages of him reciting writers or poems.
Like name dropping, like people nobody have read in their life, but him like name dropping
to the level of he's intentionally bugging you, you know, like trying to make you feel uncomfortable. But on the other hand, the proses are very, very economical.
Yeah,
obviously he's using first pronoun narrator, and he is in a lot of the book dialoguing. So obviously the proses can't be
really grandiloquent.
Grandiloquent and so on. But still, he is able to do that free indirect speech and go back to have like little glimpses of his talent as a writer, and I think also he is. I know you gave me this advice a while ago, which I think is a really one of the best advices to someone who writes, which is show me, don't tell me. And I think Bolaño is a master in that. He is able to make you feel like. I remember there was a passage of Juan Garcia Madero in the house of the font, which is this bourgeois family of this architect who has two
that
daughters.
Also fall, no? That also lose everything. He ends like in a psychiatric.
He has a chapters by himself, which is also a very brilliant character, I think. But there is like that same character, Joaquim. There is an encounter in his house when he was throwing a party, and there is Garcia Madero, and Garcia is in love with his daughter Maria Font, who's kind of a bitch, but she has her own problems, and she's also
a little femme fatale,
a little difficult, but she's a visceral realist as well, and he is running behind this girl, and he encountered Joaquim, and for 2 or 3 pages Joaquim is talking to Madero, and you feel like he was so boring and so annoying. And I literally was almost skipping the page because he was he made me feel cringe and made me annoyed. And at the end, you see Madero saying, "I just ran away," and for pages he makes you feel that heaviness to get to that sentence, and that's writing, you know.
Yeah, that's writing. That's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the book is an encyclopedia. Like it's a life. It's a life by itself, because you see you start the book with this juvenile young little boy that is not one of those protagonist voices. He's telling us the story of them, and you see the juvenile life and the young life of those poets, and when you get to the end of the book, and you where Ulysses Lima start fading a little bit, which he in his life
happened actually.
Yeah, he fades, and he
which is like Mario Papaziaro. He's like Ulysses Lima, and some parts of that book, we were telling this before recording. It feels like a book that it's a love letter to the generation, to Latin America, to these poets, but it's also like a love letter to his friend, you know, to his best friend that he lost contact from him, and that died without seeing his name in this book. And after this book, obviously, like as a poet, like they started like publishing. I thought, yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
They published these fucking like Ulysses Lima or Mario Papaziaro. In the book, they say that this guy was like so weird that his books were wet all the time because he went into the shower and read. He couldn't stop reading, and he actually never published like a book by himself, but he used to write in the margins of all the books he was reading. And I saw like this new compilation of his poems that they literally took all of his books where he was writing on the margins and tried to recompose like these poems. Like,
I wish I had a friend like that.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, man.
Writing fucking books, man. Why are you so boring doing workshops?
I did study medicine and shit.
And publishing books and stuff like that.
And
just
yeah.
to finish the point that I was saying, you literally see at the end of the book Arturo Belano or Roberto Bolaño at his 40s, from in the beginning at the end at his 40s, where he's beaten up, when he's not as magical as in the beginning, and he's more realist. And although he has a death wish in some sense, but you see that he is actually not writing poetry anymore, and he's writing novels because he wants to maybe
to survive
financially, help his family and his kids.
No, and also in my second or in rereading this book, I realized that the things that talked to me when I was young were actually a satire, it's like he was making fun of me when I was 20, like he was making fun of me,
because I mean the first part is linear, is standard, is classic, is of the young person. That is actually him kind of parodying. He makes a parody out of it at the end, because he does,
without being like dismissive.
And
like,
he writes it very well, not dismissive, but he does it very well. Like, you literally see I can even read some passage, but there is a passage when he, for example, Maria Font asked him, "Are you a virgin?" And then he suddenly said, no, of course not, I'm not a virgin. And then the whole dialogue talks about how did you do it? And at the end he said and I wanted to die from humiliation. And you literally remember when you were 17 and you're trying to show off and trying to I had sex and stuff. He writes it in a very good way. He's not dismissive about it, but also while the book progresses, and while the story progresses and while the characters develop, you start seeing how they also look at themselves when they started it. But it's.
And I was actually today in the morning discussing with a friend, and I told her about this book, and I told her the thing I like from this book, from some authors like Pessoa, like Borges, my favorite ones, is that when I grab the book, I feel that I'm taking a square of LSD. That is I'm going to go on a trip. Don't talk to me because I'm going to go on a trip. And she told me, I think I've never feel that feeling with a book. And I find it for me, literature and well-made literature, good writing feels like taking a drug and just going through it.
Yeah, but I think. I think you don't necessarily have to have it with a book. You can have it with another thing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I know Salma, for example, have that with music. Some other people have it with I don't know, programming.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I know when I read I know that when I read a poem, I feel stuff that nothing else in my life make me feel, and that somebody else I just don't feel it.
Yeah, and.
You wanted to read the quote of Amadeo?
Yeah.
So this is almost at the ending of the second part, when Arturo Belano and Ulises Lima tell Amadeo, we're going to Sonora and we're going to find Cesárea Tinajero and we're going to revive Mexican movement and literature, and then. Yeah.
It's a long passage. Should I read all?
Yeah, we have time. It's our podcast.
So it goes. I didn't want to look at them, but I did. And I saw two boys, one awake and the other asleep. And the one who was asleep said, "Don't worry, Amedeo. We'll find Cesara for you, even if we have to look under every stone in the north." And I opened my eyes as wide as I could and looked at them and said, "I'm not worried, boys. Don't do it for my sake." And the one who was asleep said, "It's no trouble, Amadeo. It's a pleasure." And I insisted, "Don't do it for me." And the one who was asleep laughed or made a noise in his throat that could have been a laugh, or a gurgle, or a purr, or maybe he was about to choke. And he said, "We're not doing it for you, Amadeo. We're doing it for Mexico, for Latin America, for the third world. For our girlfriends, because we feel like doing it." Were they joking? Weren't they joking? And then the one who was sleeping breathed in a very strange way. as if he were breathing with his bones. And he said, "We're going to find Cesare Tinayero, and we're going to find the complete works of Cesare Tinayero." And the truth is that then I felt a shiver. And I looked at the one who was awake, who was still studying the only poem in the world by Cesare Tinayero, and I said to him, "I think there's something wrong with your friend." And the one who was reading raised his eyes and looked at me as if I were behind a window, or he were on the other side of a window, and said, "Relax, nothing wrong. Goddamn psychotic boys." As if speaking in one's sleep or nothing. As if making promises in one's sleep or nothing. And then I looked at the walls of my front room, my books, my photographs, the strains on the ceiling, and then I looked at them, and I saw them as if through a window. One of them with his eyes open, and the other with his eyes shut, but both of them looking. Looking out? Looking in? I don't know. All I know is that their faces had turned pale, as if they were at the North Pole, and I told them so. And the one who was sleeping breathed noisily and said, "It's more as if the North Pole had descended on Mexico City, Amadeo." That's what he said. And I asked, "Boys, are you cold?" A rhetorical question, or a practical question, because if the answer was yes, I was determined to make them coffee right away. But ultimately, it was really a rhetorical question. If they were cold, all they had to do was move away from the window. And then I said, "Boys, is it worth it? Is it really worth it?" And the one who was asleep said, "Simonel." Then I got up, all my bones creaked, and went to the window by the dining room table and opened it. And then I went to what was, strictly speaking, the front room window and opened it. And then I shuffled over to the switch and turned out the light.
And that's the question, like,
Is it worth
is
it?
it worth it? You know, is it worth it? Like all this life of trying to
All this destroyed life.
all this destroy life, no? And for what? For writing and for reading
fiction,
and
for
for
words.
fiction. Exactly. It's people that are capable or that don't mind of sacrificing all their life for the sake of fiction.
I think it's not that they don't mind even, it's that for them it is.
There's
There's
nothing
no other
else.
option.
There's no other
Yeah.
option.
There's no other option, and there is this little
tragic.
chapter. It is a little tragic. There is this little chapter in the second part of the book where like long time after the Visceralists were not in the scene anymore in the 90s, I think. There's this guy who's writing this article about the Visceralists, and he's like listing all these people, all those Visceralists. And funny enough, the book is like someone asking about Garcia Madero, and he's just like, no, Garcia Madero, he wasn't. Who is this person? But then he lists all the Visceralists, and you see what they ended up being, and probably 30-40% are dead.
Yeah.
Pancho was dead. Lucius Skin, or I think you said
Piel Divina.
was dead. Moctezuma was into politics. Most of them. There is a lady with an X.
Xochitl.
Xochitl. Xochitl was one of the ones that defied defied the expectations, because she wasn't that active, but then she
started writing when the group dissolved, and then
dissolved. Barros left, so most of them are either disappeared, either left, either died, and that's where the question has its relevance. Was it actually worth it? And most literature in general is tainted by failures. Most people that go through the endeavor of trying to write an oeuvre do actually fail, like any person that tries to be a footballer. It's a once in a billion shot. But this is where the part that, for me, I think here we can open up the conversation a little bit, because I think I don't know what's your feeling after reading it now. for me, there were some points that didn't come to my mind when I read it in the first time, that now I find a bit problematic. Outside of the incessant narcissistic individualistic way of looking at art, or looking at one's art, which is logical for a writer, because you need to be egoistic to think that you have something to say, obviously. But outside of that, what I found a bit a bit not problematic, but a bit cringe, let's say, is that like tortured image of the artist, or of the poet, or of the writer, you know, because that's a pretty recurrent, incessant stereotype of what an artist should be, you know, like he has to live in precarity, he has to have AIDS, he has to die, he has to suffer, and that's like, it's not only Bolaño, it's most of the others, like Mahmoud Darwish, prominent Palestinian poet, says that like art is drawn from sufferance. Like you can't have art when you're happy. I think even Bolaño says that I'm happy now. I can. Is it him who wrote that?
That I'm happy now and I can't write anymore. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's an image that I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but I don't want that image to be the predominant.
Yeah. But I think that Bolaño, not only in his literature but in his life, he tried to carry this image, you know, like when he says that he's in Europe suffering and being poor, like the reality is that his mother had like a little shop in Blans in Catalonia, and he lived with her mom practically until his 30s. No. So yeah, he was kind of a mommy's boy. Yeah, exactly.
But you're absolutely right. He wasn't. I mean, maybe
he went through bad times. He wasn't a privileged person.
He died when he was 40
something, almost 50.
Yeah, and he had he had health problems all his life. He was always like a chivery boy. But I think that aspect of the book is more representative of Mario Papasqua rather than Bolaño himself.
Yeah.
Because Mario did live in
on the edge
in extreme poverty, and he died like he was crossing the street, and then
because he when he was so eccentric that when he crossed the street he wouldn't look for the cars, he would just like cross until he got killed. Mm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's always things to take from books. Not everything is pink and beautiful and amazing. But I was also, because preparing for this podcast, I was listening to this podcast from the US from two girls. And they were like really offended by the book of Bolaño. They were like, no, it's like so misogynist and so characterizing like this male culture, machismo, blah blah blah.
It's the 90s.
And first of all, it's the 90s. Second of all, like it's actually not true. Like first of all, I think that the things they got offended, like when they are talking to the prostitutes and stuff, is not Bolaño talking as Bolaño. When he writes, he's writing he's his character, you know, like he's talking as the 17-year-old Garcia Madero, and actually I think that for the 90s is a book that it's talking about homosexuality, women rights. A lot of women poets, like all the time is like making the stand that the hegemonic center of Mexican culture has also aligned like women, and I think it's a really progressive book for the time it was written.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't think that the book was published last year, definitely there is a lot of. I'm not gonna say that there isn't male gaze in the book. Like visceral realists were kind of a boys' club a little bit. Like the women in the groups were not as involved, let's say, as outside of maybe Angelica Font, but. It's not completely disproportionate, the statement, but if you take into consideration the 90s, of course it's a pretty woke book. The literary references in the literary school are very Eurocentric, but the book is very worldwide. There is a whole section of the book where Bolaño decides to go to Angola in the civil war, and then he goes to Liberia, and then there are references even about Arabic literature, although not I think there's some Asian literature that he talks about Zajal, for example, as a poetry style or a classification. I understand if a woman reads it, because there is that stereotypical hypersexuality, like all the women, all the female characters are sexualized, whether you like it or not. It is true, but also, as you said, taking it in its time. I think it's very. I just remembered now the one of the visceral realists, the gay one who died, who had an accident. It's such a beautiful story about this poet who's gay.
It's true also.
Really?
It's true.
Wow.
But he didn't die. But he
didn't die. No, sorry. He had a neurological.
Yeah, he had like an aneurysma. He was one of the promises.
Yeah.
And then he got a surgery, and then he never, like a brain surgery, and he almost died, and he never growed as he was writing before, and he lost like friends, and he was let alone. And in the book, he dies. In the real life, he ends on the street. Like he ends on the street for 10 years. They rediscovered him in 2008. Somebody found him, but like he ended his life. Like he died on the streets, like practically.
I remember there was this beautiful image of Maria Font talking to him on the phone, and she's telling him about this magazine that was published with his poems. Two of his poems were published, and then she reads the poems to him, and he said, "I wrote that. Oh, amazing!" And then he's not able to speak, and just to think of an artist not able to recognize his work anymore is
it's insane.
Pretty,
Oh, and I think now that you touched that part, there's a part of Comrade also in the first part of the second part of the book, when the movement like dissolves and they still try to write and to get published, and then there's this guy that is going to do like an anthology of all the poets of Mexico, and somehow maybe one is going to be included from the visceral, like the one that's gay, and he's in love with one of the other characters, Piel Divina, and he's trying to move the strings so they publish one of these group, because nobody wanted to publish this group, and then he told them like, hey, I wanted to publish you, but I don't know if it's possible. And he asked, are my friends also going to be published? No, then don't publish me. Then don't publish. And like all the other characters, when they told them like, maybe you will appear in this magazine, are my friends going to appear in this magazine? No, then I don't want.
I would dispute that. Not all of them. Because some of them obviously are very. I think Lucius Skin is the most faithful, although he was the least appreciated one. Arturo Bolaño hated him. Ulises Lima liked him a bit. He was the most faithful one, and he is the most also precarious. He lived the most precariously.
Nice. I think he's one of my favorite characters.
Me
like
too.
He's insane.
He's very, very adorable, and. He has that deep visceral pain in him. I think also the class struggle in the book, like showing different, like those people interacting with different pseudo bourgeois artist circles, up to the second part of the book when you see that lawyer, that insane like this guy was like literally quoting stuff in Latin, I think, every 2 sentences in a very, very annoying way, to just like trying his best to be considered an artist. And you see how like the visceral realist, how they like Arturo Bolaño specifically, how he completely dismissed him when he thought that he was giving him this great proposal of being published in his magazine, and Arturo completely dismisses
absolutely
him. But yeah, it is a very radical way of being a poet and being a writer. I don't think things work like that at all in real life. But
And I don't see this book happening 2025, you know, like But yeah, that was The Savage Detectives by Roberto Bolaño. This means we choose this because we wanted to talk about like Latin America, but not like this famous Latin American boom where you have like 100 years of solitude, blah blah. Bolaño came to break this idea of Latin America being only about the boom, about like these
magic
other
realism.
authors, magic realism.
Surprisingly, he succeeded.
and this book opened like for new type of literatures in Spanish, and not even just Spanish. We talk about this book from Sad.
I mean, one of the like the first episode I think we've done.
One of the episodes we did.
It was from the book from Mohamed Bougarsar.
Where is he from?
He's from Senegal. But the book's name is called
Memory of Man. The most secret memory of man.
Secret memory of man.
Which is a quote from this book.
He is heavily influenced by this book, and there is a quote that he mentions about critics and about Iñárritu.
About the critics,
So I think this is the first one that we're gonna do. The next one I think would be this one, right?
Yes. The one you are loving.
I had struggled with it in the beginning, but now I'm actually liking it. So it's gonna be strange because it's gonna be a graphic novel.
Graphic novel. Yeah. Let's see how we do that.
The book is called The Absolute True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, and we're gonna kick off with it next time.
Ethnic time. Okay, perfect. Then thank you, Salmita, for supporting. And
Yay.
We hope we can keep up the good work.
There's an episode about football that
by the way, if you want to tell us, Mario has been bitching about this episode that we shot about football, that he wants to...
Hussein didn't like it because he thinks that football is like, it's not intellectual enough for this podcast.
No, not at all. It's just that I sounded not smart, that's all.
You're smart. not in football, but you're smart.
We'll see.
We'll see. Okay, ciao.